Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television. Oh my God, this morning has been very hot. We have been moving from one studio to the other. This morning, this is Punchline Africa TV with its show, Diplomatic Links. In this show, we shall be looking specifically on Somalia and the new elections that took place that ushered in a new era of a new president, Hassan Sheikh Mohammed, a man who likes peace, a man who talks about peace, a man who wants to unify Africa, East Africa, the Horn of Africa, and the globe. A man who understands the plight of the people of Somalia. But in particular, there is one thing that we are going to look at this morning, that America decided to send back 700 troops, Marines, and other assorted people within their ranks to Somalia. What prompted them to come back to Somalia after their departure in Afghanistan, Somalia, and some other places in Iraq, in Syria? They downgraded their activities and went back to Washington. Now, President Biden signed a law that authorizes American troops to return to Somalia. What prompted him to do so? Is it because Somalia has seen a change, a new dawn of hope? Is it because there is hope that at last peace will be found? Let's get into this. I am Dr. David Matanga, and across in the headquarters in Nairobi, I'm very far away from her, is none other than Miriam Ogutu. And Miriam, I would like to, as we start talking about this topic, I want you to know that the African Union, the AU, Organization of African Union, or the African Union Summit, of Extraordinary Summit, I have been invited on behalf of Punchline Africa TV and people who have been talking about issues of terrorism, regime change. I think among the TVs and online, the articles that I've written have been invited to attend the Malabo conference in Equatorial Guinea. I have received that invitation, and I'm arranging where to go in a few days so that I can attend a conference on terrorism, counter-terrorism, terrorism, security, insecurity, peace, and then regime change that is sweeping, and the military coups that are coming back to Africa. That is a very serious conference of 5 days that will be read and done in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea. So when you talk about this, also reference to that, to African Union, how far have they gone to make sure that peace returns? When shall we stay? How long shall we stay? And for how much shall we pay to stay in Somalia? Thank you very much. Good morning, Miriam Ogutu.
Doc, a very good morning to you. And before we get back to for you to give your take on this matter, let me just bring us up to speed in case our viewers don't understand what we are talking about. Just a basis of our conversation this morning. And President Joe Biden signed an order on Monday to redeploy hundreds of U.S. troops to Somalia to counter the Islamic extremist rebel group Al-Shabaab, an effort that American military leaders said had been hampered by President Donald Trump's late-term decision to withdraw forces from the country. U.S. troops will be repositioned from elsewhere in Africa to train and provide other support to Somali forces in their fight against Al-Shabaab, which is considered the largest and wealthiest affiliate of the Al-Qaeda extremist organization. The decision to station forces again in Somalia rather than rotate them in and out is intended to maximize the safety and effectiveness of the U.S. forces and enable them to provide more efficient support to other partners. That is according to National Security Council spokesperson Adrian Watson. And in announcing the redeployment, U.S. troops in Somalia will total under 500, according to a senior Biden administration official who spoke on condition of anonymity to brief journalists on the decision. And of course, the newly elected president of Somalia, President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, has welcomed the redeployment of U.S. forces in Somalia, where al-Shabaab attacks has heightened due to a prolonged electoral crisis. U.S. President Joe Biden's administration announced on Monday plans, like I've told you, and this came a day after Somali MPs elected Mr. Mohamud for a second term in a tense vote that ended the country's transition crisis. And so Mr. Biden's predecessor withdrew 700 U.S. forces who have been supporting the Somali National Army through training and carrying out airstrikes against al-Qaeda affiliated militants. So the new president of Somalia has actually welcomed this new move by the U.S.
Yes. I think, first of all, the return of the American troops is very much welcome because they will boost security. But how much will it take? 700 troops against terrorists that we have fought since 1980, 1991. Miriam, that is a paltry number. It is not worth a number that you can look at, Miriam. 700 troops versus a vast land, huge, big land, 4 times bigger than Texas. So when you tell me you are going to look for terrorists in that place and you say
700 is the initial number of the U.S. troops who are in Somalia, who were withdrawn by President Trump. That was the number that was there. But they were very effective because they don't just use the physical means to get to
yes,
al-Shabaab.
You are not allowing me to finish my point.
That was the number before, not now.
Yes,
now is actually 500, yes.
Yeah, now they have even reduced it.
Yeah.
Which is not enough. I was trying to say they could as well use what are they called? This the unmanned. What are they called? Those unmanned planes. What are they called?
The drones.
The drones. Yes.
That's what they've always used. That's what the U.S. Army has always used.
There's no need of. I am saying there was no need of now announcing and reducing the figure to 500 and coming. They can as well use those without announcing it, so that these unmanned drones can go and hit the targets of al-Qaeda. Instead of, that's why this war, Miriam, cannot end. And this war might not end now because we are doing things haphazardly. There's one position that we can do, either to choose direct talk. Somalis are saying the new president must talk directly to al-Shabaab. You heard them say, you have seen that being said in Mogadishu. I've been following a lot of events. The MPs have said, no, time has come for us. If this problem cannot be discussed, finished, and militarily, we'd rather start to open up direct talks with al-Shabaab and find a solution for the country, because you cannot keep on coming, bringing troops, reducing troops, turning them out. Kenyan troops have been there, they are suffering, they are being, targeted, their own defensive, high pressure. Ugandan troops have been there for the longest. It is not very good for us to be in a place when we don't see the end of the conflict. Therefore, the conflict must be ended by either one, the Ugandan troops, the international community allows the government of Somalia to engage. After all, the government of the United States of America engaged the Taliban. Are you seeing what I'm saying? They engaged the Taliban. They started having talks with the Taliban. That's why when they were leaving, Taliban were not able to attack them. Miriam, we are playing double standards here. And these double standards will cost us in Africa a problem. Mm-hmm. And the countries that are not seeing this problem, maybe Kenya is seeing it, is we have new president. Let's use this new man. Can he go and engage Do we engage Al-Shabaab or we don't? If we don't engage them, let's finish them. Yeah, let's just go and finish it. Let's know the area and we fight them hand to hand combat until we shall lose people, they will lose people, and the conflict will be over. That's all my suggestion. Because we cannot go on talking about Al-Shabaab, Al-Shabaab, Al-Shabaab. From 1991, we are talking of Somalia, Somalia, Somalia. Is there no other, honestly, tell me, is there no other thing we can talk about?
But before we get to that, Doc, perhaps something that we, the new president, Mahmoud, said, because he has welcomed this move. So maybe this will make a difference, because the last we checked with President Farmajo, he really wanted the U.S. forces. He was not happy for them to be there, the same way he did not want the AMISOM to continue their stay in Somalia, and even the new outfit. I think they entered into an agreement for 2 years, with Somalia. So his attitude towards these other forces in Somalia was a bit different from what now we're seeing being exhibited by the new president. So perhaps if we can get a total cooperation from the new regime in Somalia and its commitment to actually stabilize and finding peace for Somalia, that might make it easier for the rest of the forces that have been there longer, and we've not seen a lot of positive feedback so far, And so maybe this will make a difference, the attitude from the new president.
Well, it is true that Farmajo was also a terrorist. Some people in Africa failed to tell him he's a terrorist. He was working with them. He knows where they are. Farmajo is a great friend of Isaias Efeki, who were terrorists at Harvard. They come and strike in Somalia and run back to Eritrea. Isaias knows where they are. He knows who the leaders of Al-Shabaab are. So I am not surprised that the Americans are very happy that they will come back with this new president who seem to be very interested in making sure that there is peace, unlike Farmajo, who did not like peace at all, because he even employed a man who was working for Al-Shabaab. He employed the people from Turkey, a man who goes to collect money, clean it in Uganda, pass it in Kenya, and deliver it in Somalia. So we know that very well. There are so many cases that could come against Farmajo. And I believe Farmajo, wherever he is right now, is looking for his American passport to renew his nationality in America and go back to America. Because the more he stays in Somalia, the more cases are going to come. Because people will bring out all these cases that he has done during his tenure of office, including the question when he started he did not want elections to be conducted at all. So these are some of the things that are going to play about with the new administration of Sharif Hassan Sheikh. Hassan Sheikh is a stable mind, is a good person, is a man who sees Africa as Africa, because he's lived in Kenya. He has lived here, he's lived for many years, his children, his family, most of them are here. He's not going to antagonize the relationship between Kenya and Somalia. So I agree with you.
Yes, and just to add to your point, Doc, sorry, I cut you short there. Interesting on this article on the BBC, an opinion article in the pro-government Portland Post said the U.S. decision undermined security reforms when the U.S. decided to take out the troops during Donald Trump's last days in office, undermined national security. Now, Al-Shabaab, since the new president made these statements, Al-Shabaab has not yet reacted to the U.S. announcement, but has profiled the incoming Somalia leader as a puppet. So they're saying this person is a puppet of the West, meaning that perhaps what you're saying, has some truth in it. Farmajo perhaps was a bit lenient to this terrorist group, because if they think
Yes.
this new president is a puppet to the West, so we've never had them call, Farmajo that at all.
No, but Farmajo I have told you from the background of Farmajo's association with Isaias Afaki, the president of Eritrea. These are terrorists. These are terrorists. There are two terrorists. Farmajo. Last week I was one of the most overwhelmed with joy that Farmajo was removed from power. I don't mind anything else. Farmajo is no longer controlling the instruments of power. Our Ugandan troops that are based in Mogadishu will be safer in the hands of Hassan Sheikh, because he is not going to put them at harm. The Kenyan troops that are in Kenya, in Somalia, will be under the good hands of Hassan Sheikh, because Hassan Sheikh is not a man who can double cross the revolution of safeguarding Somalia and Africa. He's a Pan-African. That's why they don't like him. They are calling him now a puppet of the West, because he is proposing. He won and said, I want us to talk. If Al-Shabaab have got leadership, they can bring up across. You see, Hassan Sheikh originally looks like, Farmajo looks exactly like President Museveni. When we wanted to have the Uganda peace talks between Konyi and himself, the first time that this proposal came, he was very hostile. In fact, he wanted even to lock people who were bringing that suggestion. But later on, in about a month, when the first time we entered and went to Karamba Park, and again we met with the Oranya, Riakabacha, and so many people, bishops, and we arrived there as a delegation. We came back and said, these guys are ready, they are willing to talk. President Museveni then later on now said, okay, if you want peace, I've tried peace before, and these people have never agreed. But if you think they can agree this time and end the war, I give you the green light. And here we are. We went with the green light and the consent of the President of the Republic of Uganda, and with the international community on our hands, Miriam, we secured that peace. Konyi is on the run wherever he is. They can get him because some of us are not paid by the international community to chase anybody. My mandate was to bring peace in northern Uganda and the South Sudan and the creation of South Sudan. Because we removed the Konyi from South Sudan to Garamba Park, there was an independence of South Sudan. And the South Sudan has got independence because the troops were in central Equatoria and the southern Sudan, part of South Sudan, in near Nimule and other areas of the Equatoria. They were hammering cars, blowing up people, fighting the SPLA. And then once we organized a ceasefire for them to leave South Sudan, to cross over to Rikwamba and to go up in Rikwamba in Congo, that was the end of the conflict in South Sudan, and the road became clear, and the transportation and the importation of goods for South Sudan. Remember, South Sudan relies on Uganda and Kenya for food and other foodstuffs. All the essential commodities, most of them come from those two countries. Mm-hmm. So I think Hassan Sheikh is the best guy. The rebels, the terrorists might refuse and call him a puppet. It's because they wanted somebody they could continue to level violence against their own people through their intelligence system. Mm-hmm. I believe Somalia's intelligence system is infiltrated.
Mm-hmm. So there should be an overhaul, Somali intelligence system and also Somali forces.
Yes.
There has to be some overhaul, and they get people who are actually serving the interests of the country and who are committed to a peaceful Somalia. Doc, before you give your takeaway, because I know we should be We still have some time. We have another show coming up, and I see a lot of our viewers from that part of the world already starting to comment on some of the things that we shall be looking at on top of the hour. There is this other story. We are on diplomatic league, so there's something I want to bring to your attention, and that is the military in Uganda says it will withdraw hundreds of troops it sent last year to help neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo combat an Islamist insurgency. The Ugandan Land Forces Commander Mhonzi Kainerugaba said that Operation Sija had only been intended to last 6 months and would end by next month unless an extension was agreed. The authorities in DRC Congo say the terms and timeline for the Ugandan withdrawal would need to be agreed by both countries. In December, Uganda sent 1,700 soldiers to take part in the joint operation with Congolese troops against rebels known as the Allied Democratic Forces. The ADF is accused of carrying out raids and massacres in eastern DRC and bombings in Uganda. So there could be a possibility of Uganda withdrawing its troops from the DR Congo. Of course, the initial agreement was, for 6 months. But to be honest with you, nothing much has changed. Things have really gotten worse in that part of the DRC as far as security is concerned, according to the numerous reports that have been coming out from there. So them withdrawing now, considering to withdraw now, I don't know if they would have achieved their, goal at all. And what are your thoughts on them withdrawing?
I think they have. I welcome the decision of Uganda withdrawing troops from Congo based on how much damage they have done, to the ADF, and whether ADF will never come back.
Doc, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. In fact, insecurity has increased.
Okay. If that is so, I think Uganda is sticking to its terms that the agreement can be
6 months.
Reviewed.
Yeah.
That you can extend from 6 months to another 6 months. And one of the things that the Ugandans should do is to follow and exterminate and wipe out the insurgent units. But for me on Congo, I have different mixed feelings. And I want people to understand me that I am speaking from an experience of having known who President Museveni is and who President Kagame is, and their relationship. For me, when they are talking, I want to advise people that when they have a quarrel, you stand aside and watch. Don't get involved. You can get injured. That's all I'm giving. I've decided to be very frank and very candid. When Museveni and Kagame are fighting, don't get involved. Just stand aside, lose business, and watch. God will help us. Because both of them understand each other. One was a teacher to the other. One made the other. Therefore, God, it is like Jesus and God. Jesus cannot come and ask God that I beat you. God will ask, I am the one who created you, my son. So that is all I can give advice to anybody who is caring to listen. And those who are listening, when the two men have a quarrel, and when you are discussing the Congo issue, you have to be very careful. Go back to all agreements that we have signed in Sun City, in South Africa. We have signed Lusaka agreement. Yeah, let's go back to all this. The bringing of Kabila. How did Kabila come? How did Kabila come into existence in the Congo? It's through the same people. Kabila came to Congo because of President Museveni and President Kagame. Kabila won a war. How did Kabila gain a turnaround on them? You ask yourself that there are countries in the two countries. Their armies are spread all over Africa. If you look at currently, Uganda has army in every part of Africa almost. Yes. And Rwanda has got army in every part, although called by the peacekeeping forces. Rwanda has got army now in Mozambique. Uganda has got army in Mozambique. In the Central African Republic, Uganda has army. Rwanda has army. In Sudan, Darfur, Rwanda has army. How many places? Equatorial Guinea. All those places, Uganda has army.
Yeah, and of course on this one.
So if you don't know the doctrine of these two guys, then you can rather stop and wait for us who have been with them in the trenches in Tanzania when we are young, when they were also young, although old. They were older than us, but Kagame was younger than me. At least Kagame is younger than me by some few years.
Yes. Yes, Doc. And on this one, you really can't fault Ugandan forces. If the agreement was 6 months, then that's it. So if they want...
I'm not faulting Uganda.
No, you did not. I'm just saying, because, a lot of people look at this and think, okay, fine, you went into the DRC, nothing really has changed, and now you're planning to leave. But if they want to negotiate another term there, they will. But also we have to remember that the East African community met a couple of weeks ago, and there was an agreement within the member states that there should be, a contingent of military forces drawn from these countries that should be, formed and sent to pacify. So maybe even if, could be one of the reasons why maybe Uganda will withdraw its forces, and that was a unilateral agreement between Uganda and DRC. But now that the EAC is forming its own, even perhaps the Kenyan forces might come back, or the ones who are there might be absorbed and be part of that, the troops that will be formed from the member states to go into the DRC. But also we have to remember that case. I know the judgment was made at the International Court of Justice, where DRC, got some judgment, in its favor that Uganda should pay it for some damages over its resources and some lives that were lost and all that. It went to. It took Uganda to court there. So you can't take me to court and then I'm in your country trying to help you. I think after that ruling, because that ruling came out after Ugandan forces were there. So of course, I'm sure as much as they were working on the security cooperation, but that must have changed something. So now Uganda, after that 6 months that they had agreed on, they have to come back and review their terms and see, is it even safe for us as Ugandan forces to just be there, or it will be safer to just wait and, if at all the EAC forces will be formed so that we just under that force, but not just as a country. Perhaps these are, factors that Uganda could consider before they decide to extend their stay in the, because there are other factors as well.
First of all, Miriam, you know that Tanzania is not eager to join any of the formations. Tanzania has got a stable army, very patriotic. It has fought battle-hardened wars against Idi Amin and many other parts. They are doing developmental work. They do, if they are not working at war, they are busy digging roads, doing so many things. The new president of Tanzania seemed to have run away from the previous policy of engagement and going up as East African heads of state. She's busy selling her country.
Oh, she's doing wonderful. Even French is coming back now and supporting the project.
The French coming back is a mistake for her, because they will be helping the civil society through George Soros to again turn Tanzania into a very big, hub of, civil society and NGOs. But there is one thing she's doing that must raise eyebrows of any East African. She's not interested in this whole Congo saga. And when I went deeper to find out, my Tanzanian friends told me, look, we cannot go in a meeting where the same people who sponsor the rebels are the one giving us advice on how rebels can disarm. So the Tanzanians are saying, we cannot be part of this type of meetings where the rebels themselves are sponsored by some groups that are sitting on table, but they are not telling us. In fact, on this one, some countries in East Africa are playing like Kalonzo. He has known what he wants to do, but he comes on the table and says, hey, yeah, let's have talks. Let's have these talks. And let's see. Then after that, when he gets out, I said, oh, I did not know what I was signing. This is exactly what the Tanzanians are doing. Have refused. They said there are countries, I don't want to mention to go into the politics of what they told me, which countries, but I'm saying there are countries in amongst East African community
who are
sponsoring the same rebels whom you are calling to come and sit on table.
Which is true, Doc, and yeah, I think Tanzania has a basis on
and you can see, Miriam, our programs here, and let people know it. Our programs are analytical. We do. This information is not anywhere. And then a security expert can look at what I'm saying and what you are saying and bring it to table and say, this could be right. Our role is not to victimize people. Our role with my tools of analysis and your tools of analysis and our engagement on topics, we find out some loopholes. The woman is gaining popularity in East Africa.
She's
businesses,
really busy with, shuttle diplomacy, because Magufuli, yes, really
businesses in Tanzania are flourishing. Arusha, Moshi, all the towns, Lunga across Tanga. If you go to Tanga, my God, the buildings that have come up is becoming another Dar es Salaam. But here we are in our countries like Kenya. People have taken time on politics and are confusing the president. We can't do anything much. People want power, and then later on they want power to grab and amass.
But you see, Doc, as much as I do understand where Tanzania is coming in, with its stand on wanting to be a bit on the fence as far as a lot of these conflicts in the East African region is concerned, because some of the member states are part of the problem in these other countries, which is true. If we just look at these cases case by case, you will see the involvement and the accusations and counter accusations. But where I've always had a problem with that is you are part of this, you're part of the East African community. And if that is your stand, which I respect and I do understand where Tanzania is coming from, you also have a responsibility as a member state when they're sitting there and having these, talks, say, no, wait. There's nowhere we're going with this conversation if A, B, C, D cannot be solved. And, just lend your voice to that conversation, and perhaps, by Tanzania being present and, bringing out its discomfort and how perhaps the bloc is seeking to take on some of these issues. I think its voice is needed there. So by it sitting out and just being on the fence is not helpful to the entire East African community. And the reason why maybe Kenya is involved and other countries is because when DRC is in problem, South Sudan is in problem, it is not just affecting those people. Come to Nairobi and see the number of refugees there. So the tag of these conflicts is a lot. It does not just stop in this country. It spreads all over. And that's why the rest of us feel we do have a responsibility. If we have peace in the DRC, if we have peace in South Sudan, if we have peace in Rwanda and Burundi, if we can coexist harmoniously, then it will be less of a burden to the rest of us who have to take up on the influx of refugees, the other issues that come up, when this conflict is intensified. So Tanzania should be on that table and point out some of these loopholes and say we can't sit here and be hypocritical of us trying to even form troops from our countries and take them there. Well, we know within these blocks, we don't even get along. Some countries don't get along. And there's a high possibility of them going to open fire against each other on the front lines when they go to fight. So we need these issues to be solved before we get there. But sitting on the fence, I don't think is helping the matter. But I also do understand their stand and, perhaps not wanting to be involved in these conflicts.
Thank you, Miriam. I think you better know that the Tanzanian leadership is propelled by the former president, Kikwete. It's Kikwete who made Samia Suluhu. So if you know the background of His Excellency, right, Jakaya Kikwete is a civil society guy, a man who believes that George Soros is very powerful, is a good person, can reason, and so he's being pulled. She's maintained that leadership and the strength, and that's why you saw there was no hassle at all in the ascending to power after the death of my great friend Magufuli. So it became straightforward that she took over power, that stabilized the army. No army complaints came up on the streets. In some other countries like Uganda now, if there is a power struggle, you would know what would happen. I don't think even that lady Alupo could take over power.
Oh, if something happened to Museveni today, Uganda will do something else.
So our countries like our country, Uganda, is for example, in Rwanda has created a structure. Of course, after if anything happens, which I think is not going to happen easily, but we don't know what God has spared for us. Rwanda can have a smooth transition because the army will take over and then continue with its military operations. One of the stabilities that people don't know about Uganda and Rwanda, and Miriam, you who are students of international relations, is you must understand that Museveni has built a basis of a military called democratic unit of an army. Each regional political commander, each commander of the region is the political eye of the president, and therefore he does the policies of the politics of the ruling party. If you didn't know, it's like China. In fact, Uganda UPDF is built like China. The structures are purely, he has allowed the civilians to have a democracy, a parliament that makes noise. But the structures of real power lies with the Army Council. The Army Council, which has got men who come when they are going for a meeting, you can say, hello, these are the guys who make decisions. And they say, today we are taking our 200,000 troops or 220,000 troops to Congo. Today we are taking troops to Mozambique. Uganda now has taken protection force to Mozambique. And they are beginning to dig those areas to grow crops honestly, you saw President Nyusi was there last week. The last 3 weeks, President Nyusi went there, signed the agreement, and the Ugandan troops were already on the way. They are in Mozambique as we speak. And when you see the Americans building their base around the Lusaka, then you can tell me there are shifts platonic or optics of security movement, of optics of militarism that you can see from it. That's why it is very difficult for you. If it was another person, condemnation would have come from all those angles, isn't it? Have you seen any condemnation? President Museveni took a bold step, and I thank him for this, to take troops into Somalia. Nobody wanted to go to Somalia, but he said, no, we have enough troops. There are men here seated, some of them are doing not much work. They go to Somalia. We have about 12 to 15,000 troops in Somalia. And why don't we utilize them to finish the insurgency? How long shall we stay in Somalia? Those are the questions that I want to do a takeaway right now. Thank you very much, viewers. Somalia has been on the lips of the many people in Africa. But Somalia also has been the pain for the people of Africa. Since 1991, Somalia has been the biggest pain that Africa has ever seen. People killed, governments overthrown, assassinations. The state collapsed to become a pariah state. But Somalia is a country that is bound to bounce back, given that they have now a new leadership, a leadership that can bring about peace, a leadership that can see what way Somalia, which way do we go. The presence of American troops that were taken 700 and now the return of 500 American troops is a boost to the security, but how much and how long will it boost the security of Somalia? It is therefore very important for us when discussing the context of Somalia in the insecurity that it causes as Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, Burundi, and Djibouti and other countries that are already involved in Somalia, is how long shall we stay in Somalia? What are our exit strategies? When can we exit? Does Somalia need a permanent presence? And why a permanent presence? Is the war ending or it might not end now? Is there an effective way of ending this war without too much bloodshed? These are the questions the Americans should answer. By sending 500 troops, they're not enough. We know yet where the enemies are. With the new president in power who wants to sing a peaceful relief, will he be opening up to the Al-Shabaab and talk to them face to face? Somalis are saying yes, they need to talk to them face to face. What are the reactions of the international community then if there is a face to face talk? Haven't we talked about the Taliban? We sat down, the Americans sat down with the Taliban and hammered a way to exit Afghanistan. Is it time for the people to sit down and look for a way on how to end this conflict in Somalia? Is Somalia different from Afghanistan? The same troops are there. And how long will our armies stay in this country? And yet the situation remains status quo. I submit that Kenya has done very well in areas that it has occupied. It has taught people on what it means by having a development. Uganda has equally had a good time and done very well, especially in the hotspot of Mogadishu. In the sector one, there is always a bomb, there is always a killing, there is always a shootout. I want to give thanks to these gallant sons of these gallant countries, Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Burundi, for having stayed on course to kill, to finish, to heal, to bring out the sixth son of Africa, Somalia, from the rubbles of war. I submit.
Very well. Thank you so much for watching. That is where we end our show this morning, but don't go too far. On the top of the hour, we shall be back with another conversation, this time focusing on Nigeria, about the latest. As we know, Nnamdi Kanu is meant to be presented to court, I think today, if I'm not wrong, but we'll get the details of that on top of the hour. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doc, for that. So we will see you at the top of the hour. Don't go too far.
Thank you very much.